feeling cold against your skin. Running through the chaos, letting all the sin. Temptation in a bottle, ready for the night. Craving for the thrill, it's time to ignite. Dark desires burning bright. Echoes in the dead of night. No retreat, no looking back on this heart attack.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, how are you? I told you yesterday we would get this press conference from the other side of the argument, and we did. Tony Busby and the mother gave a press conference earlier today, and they have their own sort of allegations of what happened, and we're going to go through them. We're going to have a look at it, and I think there's some good points. There's some poorly executed points, I think. There's things that I think are just words being manipulated. Like there's things that are outright wrong. Things that we were told yesterday in the other press conference verbatim that apparently today are incorrect. So I don't know what's 100% going on, but we're gonna watch it together. We're gonna go through it, and then we'll try and go back to the APD one yesterday, and we'll see what inconsistencies we can find. Because, in my opinion, you shouldn't believe anyone. You don't believe this side. You don't believe the other side. If they both have some sort of disagreement, then the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Because people on one side are sort of out for their agenda, the other side are out for theirs. It's sad when it comes to this, but that's where we are right now with this particular case. So I have the APD one lined up from yesterday. We'll go through that one later. I want to go to the one that happened today with Tony Busby and the mom, and I want to watch a couple of minutes of it. Just don't want to watch the first bit because we don't need the introduction. Here we go. All right, here we go. Hey, good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. Good to have you here. I'll turn the camera on in a sec. I'm just getting set up. Hey, good to see you guys. Hey. Yeah, we're here. Melbourne's weather is like bipolar at the moment. It's like 35 degrees one day, the next day it's raining and overcast all day, which it is today. All right, let's watch a little bit of this. And I want to hear what you guys have to say. Now, I have seen the TikToks. I saw them already, where people are saying, I heard something, it was up there. And there was another guy that's like, I heard something and I was on the floor. Yes, I've heard these, so we'll see.
They didn't feel like they were getting thorough information from the Austin Police Department. And despite what the detective said yesterday, or maybe implied yesterday, it's kind of hard to figure out what he was saying. This is very much an ongoing investigation. I've been around a long time. Good investigations lead to conclusions. Bad investigations start with a conclusion, and then they try to support the conclusion through the investigation. It's clear to me, based on what this detective and the things that he said to Stephanie, it's clear to me that he had made a decision immediately about what his conclusion was and then went about trying to support it. The Austin Police Department formed a conclusion within hours of this tragedy that this was a suicide without any investigation. This family had a horrible tragedy, and the communication from the Austin Police Department was so bad that the family became concerned enough to engage me and my colleagues at Gamez Law. And they also asked the public for help. With proper communication, this matter would be treated like most investigations, where no information is shared until actually after the investigation is complete. But what did we see yesterday? What we saw yesterday was a hurried.
Yeah, let me stop it there for 1 second. The cops said yesterday that they had been in touch with the family throughout the weekend, spoke to them twice on the day that Brianna was found. They then tried to speak to her again during the week, and apparently she, according to I'm just going on what the APD said. APD said that she wouldn't take their calls. So I don't understand. He's saying, oh, they're not giving any information out, and they won't talk to the family. They also apparently talked to the dad. And the dad had all the information up until yesterday's press conference. So who's telling the truth here? Is it the APD? Is it these people? Yeah, because that's a discrepancy between the two sides. They're saying, "Oh, they're not talking to us," and they became so concerned with the communication. I don't think a week is that long in a death investigation. We've seen death investigations stretch out 9 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. It shouldn't, but we have seen that. And like a week is not that massive amount of time for a death investigation. So this seems like, lawyer talk at the moment.
Rushed press conference. And I think we all can agree the reason they had a press conference yesterday is because they knew that we were going to have this conference today. They gave the family no notice of the press conference. They sent 2 emails, and then the detective went on camera in front of millions of people and told everybody that this young lady committed suicide. Ironically, the same thing he told Stephanie, the mother, within a few minutes of talking to her without any investigation.
The APD also said yesterday, like we're talking about those phone calls, that they did notify the father that there was going to be a press conference the next day. So do the father and the mum not talk to each other? Like, someone was told within the family that the press conference was happening the next day. So to make it seem like a surprise and, they did it just to beat us to our own game. Interesting.
That's not the way it's supposed to be done. The family had dared to ask questions about what was going on and what had been learned by the investigation, was then punished with leaks to millions of people from the Austin Police Department, to the detriment of their daughter and to their daughter's memory. So we were hired to assist this family in finding the truth, and we've been doing that. But everyone knows that investigations are supposed to remain confidential until the investigation is complete. And why is that? That's because you don't want to tamper with potential witnesses or scare off witnesses or create a false narrative or color witnesses' interpretation of the facts. Everything that detective did yesterday, that's exactly what he did. Do you realize that the autopsy has not been completed? Now, I want you to let that soak in for a minute. The autopsy has not been completed. The medical examiner's office told us that it will not be completed for 60 to 90 days, yet you had the so-called lead detective in front of millions of people saying that he had concluded that this was a suicide.
Yeah, they did mention that yesterday, that the medical examiner had not finished the autopsy and that some parts of it that were not preliminary would take an amount of time. And he's right. 60, 90, 120 days, not abnormal. So, but I think everyone was under the impression that it had not been completed.
Now, how unprofessional is that? The police department asked the medical examiner to do a toxicology report. We don't have the results of that toxicology report, yet this investigator stood in front of all of you and said that he had concluded this was a suicide, even though by law he doesn't have the authority to make that conclusion. Only the medical examiner has that authority. The police department also asked for a rape kit to be done. They admitted to us yesterday in a Zoom call that, well, if they do the rape kit, we don't even know where they're going to send it to. This is what we're dealing with, and that's the reason we're involved.
Texas also has a backlog, a really large backlog of R-word kits in the system as well. I think they're one of the largest states in America that have like a crazy backlog. Some of them go back a decade or more. So there you go.
It's like the Keystone Cops over there in Austin. And it's incredibly frustrating to this family. Why would the Austin Police Department hurriedly perform or set up a press conference and leak details of the investigation and suggest to you that there was a suicide note without the medical examiner ever even performing their job? Why would they do that? Now, what he told us, I'll tell you what the investigator told us. He said, oh, my goodness gracious, the witnesses are getting death threats. I said, from whom? Why? No answer, because it's foolishness, absolute foolishness. And it's that kind of conduct that caused the family to try to find somebody separate from the Austin Police Department to investigate this. We don't have a toxicology report. We don't have a rape report. We don't have a cause of death. And none of those things, don't put that on top of that. None of those are conclusions that a police detective, a corporal, can make. He doesn't have the statutory authority to determine the cause of death. And I'm surprised that none of you even asked that question. He gave you an opportunity to ask questions. Not one of you said, hey, wait a minute, detective. When did the state of Texas give you the legislative authority to determine cause of death? I thought only either a JP, if there's no medical examiner, or a medical examiner could do that. Is that what the medical examiner has done? He would have said to you, no, actually, the medical examiner hasn't even completed his autopsy.
I feel like this might be a bit of semantics on his part. I'm guessing that a preliminary was done, and that might be what the APD are basing it off. Like, preliminary is done pretty quick, normally within the first few days of a body turning up. Then they do like a more thorough advanced autopsy and medical exam, toxicology, that type of thing. And that they take a lot longer, 90 days longer. But I think there's some wordplay. You hear it a lot with this. And one of the things I didn't like in this press conference was Tony Busby often put it back on the media, especially near the end. He says, this is the headline and I'm going to give it to you. No, you do your job and let the media do theirs. Don't be giving headlines out. They'll write the headlines of what they think that you have said during the press conference. You just do your job. You got a job to do that. Let the media do theirs. All right, let's go here.
But none of you asked that question. You just bought everything that he said, hook, line, and sinker. And then you published your most of the things that I saw on Instagram and the newspaper were cause of death determined. Young lady committed suicide. That's irresponsible. That's irresponsible. You should not do that. You should say, wait a minute, detective. How many times have you been written up and reprimanded? Detective. Wait a minute, when did you have the statutory authority, detective, to determine cause of death? Detective. That's your job. Now it's my job. The public dissemination of information by the Austin Police Department during an investigation, the way it was done yesterday, is unethical, unprofessional, and incredibly damaging to an objective, unbiased investigation. And it's also damaging to the memory of this child. All this family is asking for is a thorough, complete, unbiased, open-minded investigation. That's all they're asking for. That's what any parent would ask for whose child went to college, went to a game, lost her for several hours, and then find out hours and hours later that she supposedly jumped off a balcony. And with just a few questions, a few pointed questions, quickly figure out that these investigators, this so-called investigator, did not know what he was talking about.
All right, in the next bit, you're going to hear more about what he thinks the holes in this investigation actually are. And one of them he talks about is the balcony and the apartment. He says the apartment is quite small. It's almost like a 2-bedroom dorm-style apartment, and it's very tiny. It's got sort of like 2 little bedrooms, like a lounge living area, and then a balcony. Then apparently if you're on the balcony, you can tell who's in the home. And if you're in the home, you can tell who's in the balcony. He also says the railing outside is quite high and that there's no way you could accidentally fall off it. I'll let him explain it though.
We're going to get into that. You can't close a case before you even have the cause of death from the medical examiner. Period. Full stop. You don't have that right. You don't have that authority. We have to get this right. This is not just for this family. This is for any family. You have to get this right. You can't close a book in the middle of reading a chapter and say that that's closed and it's over. That's not how it works. You can't misclassify a death like this. When you misclassify a death, you're planting a lie in the soil where truth should grow. And as I said, to her credit, Stephanie Rodriguez was very close to her daughter, very close. Talked to her daily. Knew everything that she was up to, everything that she was doing. The very first interaction she had with the detective from the Austin Police Department, he told her, your daughter committed suicide. The very first reaction, the very first interaction. At that point, he hadn't talked to one witness. He hadn't seen her phone. He hadn't done anything. That's sloppy and irresponsible. He claims she made suicidal comments. He told us in the Zoom call, she made suicidal comments. You know what he was talking about? The other day, when I was talking to a friend the other day, I said, man, you're going to make me jump off a bridge. That's what he's talking about. Silliness like that.
The problem with these type of statements, when you say these in a press conference, when you're trying to counteract what the APD said yesterday, is that you don't provide any verification of what you're talking about. So you can say anything, even if it is true or not true, but there's no way for anyone to double check this information from you, because you can be like, well, it was all said in fun and jokes, and she was just joking, like she was going to jump off the Eiffel Tower. Maybe, but how do we know that? And you tell the media to do their job, but they can't speak to anyone and they can't see the records right now. So the only people we have to go off are you and the APD, and neither of you gave that verification on that statement at all.
He later claimed she was making those kinds of statements on the day of the night that she died. If that's the case, why did their friends leave her out on the balcony by herself? If that's true, because it's not true. None of the things that we've been told by the Austin Police Department are consistent with the actual facts that we've learned. The detective was talking about suicide before he was ever given her phone. Then he gets into her phone and he sees an essay that she wrote, and he calls it a suicide note. She took creative writing the semester before. Now, I don't know what the purpose of that. We'll never know what the purpose of what she wrote and deleted. But this is the suggestion was that she left a, quote, suicide note. Total malarkey. Total malarkey.
You tell us it's total malarkey, but then you tell us that you will never know what it's actually for or why it was written. But then you say it's obviously not an S-word note. That seems like a double negative in your statement. A bit weird.
It was something she wrote on the 25th. She talked to her mother on the 25th. She was with her boyfriend on the night of the 25th. She was talking to her mother every single day after that. We see pictures of her smiling. We see pictures of her having fun. We see pictures of her partying. Total baloney, what they're trying to sell to you. And why? Am I suggesting that there's some kind of conspiracy? No, I'm suggesting they're lazy and they're incompetent. Just so I'm clear. I'm not suggesting any sort of conspiracy that there's some kind of somebody in power that wants this to go. No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that there's incompetence and laziness on the part of the detective. That's what I'm suggesting. The suggestion they've made is she wrote an essay, because it's not a note. She wrote an essay on the 25th that she deleted. And then she goes and kills herself 4 days later. This is their logic. It's really ridiculous. So, a few things they didn't bother to even explain. I don't even know what they did, honestly. I know what we've done. We sent someone to the apartment. We had someone take the dimensions of the apartment. We had somebody measure the railing and the height of the railing. We know how tall Brianna was. She was 5'2". The railing's 44 inches. You don't fall over it. There's no furniture out in the balcony. There's nothing to climb up on, to jump off. Anyone that's on that little balcony, it's literally as big as this. It's a little bitty old balcony. And there's a window just like that you can see onto the balcony. The apartment is like a dorm. It's very small. There's no way you can be in that apartment and hide. If you're in the apartment, people know you're in the apartment. It's a little small apartment. No offense to the apartment complex, but that's what it is. It's like a little double room dorm with a small balcony with no furniture. These are easy things to find out. Things that you would say, wait a minute, you're saying that this young lady was out on the balcony and she was 5'2", she had to somehow climb over the railing to try to kill herself? Then certainly you guys could see that. Certainly you knew that was happening. How could that possibly be? It doesn't make any sense because it didn't happen that way. She was 100 pounds, 5'2". There's no way she could fall over that railing accidentally. There's no way to be on the balcony and you be inside and not know somebody's on the balcony. It's not possible. It's almost impossible to be inside the apartment and not know somebody's in the apartment with you, even though there's 2 little bedrooms. This is called common sense. I tell you what's most concerning. They didn't explore the fight that Brianna apparently had with somebody at the tailgate at the Austin Rugby Club. I think she went to, what was the name of the tailgate?
Okay, so this is where the Austin PD said that Brianna had punched an acquaintance or a friend at that tailgate. They're now going to say a slightly different version of events, and you're going to hear it. Gayla said, is he going to go for money? The only thing I know Tony Busby for is lawsuits, and he normally takes on people and then sues people for monetary damages. It's the only thing I've ever known him for. You look at the Deshaun Watson thing. There's been other ones recently where they've picked up Tony Busby as their lawyer, things like that. That's the only thing I've ever known him for. I don't think I've ever known him for pushing for criminal investigations. Hey, Emily, how are you? Good to see you, my friend.
Tailgate that they had there, some student organization. Latin Economic Business Development tailgate at the Austin Rugby Club. There was an altercation between her and another female. No investigation of that. Turns out that other female was in the apartment with her that night. There was a witness between 12:30 and 1 a.m. who posted on TikTok. Many of you have seen it. Young man posted on TikTok that he could hear up above at around the 17th floor in that general area fighting.
This town was full of kids for that weekend, and I'm not disputing what this person on TikTok is saying. I just try to look at it somewhat rationally. This town was full of like different teenagers and college kids for the tailgate and the football game that night. I mean, he goes on to say they got an expert. Could you have heard that from his balcony or whatever? And they're like, yeah, you can hear it. But how do you know? It's a little it's hard to know. It could have been another fight. There could have been other rambunctious people who've been drinking all night at this tailgate or whatever. It's hard to know. And even he says, like, oh, it was in the general area somewhere up there on the 17th floor. It's not exactly concrete evidence.
Screaming. Somebody saying, get off of me. And then a muffled sound. He posted it, got many, many views. You can get on TikTok and look at it now. We talked to him this morning. Guess what? Here's the irony. Or maybe here's the tragedy. The police didn't bother to talk to him. Now, why wouldn't they talk to him? He had incredibly specific information about what he heard. He could hear it loud enough. He could hear the words that were spoken. Get off of me, and screaming. And then a muffled cry between 12:30 and 1 p.m. right next to the apartment. We had an expert say, wait a minute, could he hear that? We had to engage an expert to say, is it possible that he could actually hear that? The expert said, absolutely. Absolutely could hear that. It makes a lot of sense. Never talked to by the police. We have a witness who was in the apartment across from the apartment where this apparently occurred, who could hear running back and forth and screaming. And then she said, I could tell something bad had happened. Did y'all know this? Ridiculous. Her entire family was in the apartment. The police could have talked to her and several other people. They failed to look into the anonymous message that was sent. There was an anonymous message that was posted that said, hey, I have specific information that this young lady was locked out on the balcony. Did you know that? It's not part of the investigation. Why is it not part of the investigation? Because they made their decision literally within minutes. Within minutes. Now, here's where it gets a little dicey, and here's where I'm having it, and I want to be very careful because I don't want to be accusing anybody, because I'm not accusing anybody other than the APD, the Austin Police Department, not doing its job. At first, we were told that she jumped from the balcony, and the three young women that were in the apartment, and we're talking about, as I said, a tiny little apartment, were asleep and didn't know where she was. That's what we were told first. That they were asleep. They didn't even know she was on the balcony. They didn't know where she was. And that's the reason why they didn't call the police until 12:15 the next day.
I have something I can give you that might give you an alternate view of this. There was a guy in Melbourne. He was in a hot air balloon. I've done this story on this channel before. He was in a hot air balloon with 8 other people. Only 3 of them saw him jump out of a hot air balloon. You think of how big a hot air balloon basket is. And Tony Busby is trying to make it out to be that if you're in an apartment, you would have definitely seen someone jump over the balcony. Just something to think about.
That's what we were told. That's part of the cops' timeline. Okay? Put up the timeline, Ryan. They said, according to the plot, we haven't talked to them. These are these anonymous women who were in the apartment, 3 of them, one of which was the lessor or the lessee of the apartment, who vacated the apartment the very next day and never went back. Did you know that? This is the timeline that the police gave us yesterday. This is the timeline. And if you can't look at that timeline in 1 second, point out the problem of that timeline, then you're not doing your job. We'll get to it. So at first we're told that the 3 women didn't know where she was and they were asleep. That's what we were told. And that they didn't know where she was, and they were looking for her, and they were texting her mom, and it wasn't, and they just...
Here, I have a copy of this timeline from this video that I can show you. That'll be, you guys will be able to see it better. You know, they talk about how these people vacated the apartment and never went back. The police had been in and out of that apartment all week. I don't know if I would want to stay there either. If there was cops and crime scene and now his people, so he sent his people there to the apartment as well to measure things and take photos. So, there you go. Wait, what's it? Oh, this is something else. Sorry. Different case. Different case. Sorry about that. That's a different case we were following. Where's my thing? Here, I'll take you back to this one. I'll take you here. Where is it? We have a better quality version of that. Wait, is that the same one? Maybe it is. Is Ping going crazy? No, it's not the right one. Where's our screenshot? There we go. There we go. Sorry. that was for a different investigation that we were following a while ago. Yeah, Austin police timeline here, and they talk about he talks about like what's the one thing that sticks out to you on this timeline, and I think it's you know, the 12:46 is when officers respond to a 911 call and find her body, and then they talk about how the friends call almost 12 hours later to report her missing, and I think that's one of the big things he was sort of trying to point out. So that is that timeline for you. And you see there, Stephanie Rodriguez, her mom, contacted police to help locate her daughter at 10 to 1 in the next morning, afternoon. And then 2 p.m., she's informed by police that her daughter's phone has been located. And then an hour and a half later at 3:30 p.m., officers officers found her daughter's phone in a wooded area near Walnut Creek by the Austin Rugby Club. Rugby Club. Good work, Ping. You got to actually say real words. So there you go. We can put that back up on the screen later for you.
Decided about 12, what was it, 12:14 the next day, 6 hours later almost, that they decided at that point they couldn't find her, so they were going to call the police. This is what we were told by the Austin Police Department. Lay aside what was heard happening at about 12:30 to 1 o'clock that night. Lay aside what the witness across the hall said. Lay aside what the man down on the street said. Just disregard all that. This is what the police say. It must be right, according to them, because they did such a thorough investigation. This is what they gave us. Not one of you have asked a question about it. Not one of you. But this is what they said. Her friends called the police at 12:14 the next day because they didn't know where she was. They hadn't seen her. They thought maybe she had went out. That's what they said. Keep that in your mind. When I asked the police that, like, wait a minute, how is that possible? How is that possible? A whole group of 14 or so people came into the apartment that night after they'd been out partying. They got there about 11 or so. Everybody left, right? That's what they say. And it left just 4 girls there, 4 young women, right? And the 4 young women, 3 of them didn't call the police till 12 o'clock the next day because they didn't know where she was. That's what the police say. Lay aside what the witnesses have said about that and lay aside the fact that that's a really small apartment. It's hard to get lost in that little small apartment.
Like, I know Tony Busby is a very rich man. He's got a lot of money. He's done quite well for himself. I'm concerned that he's never seen a modern apartment before. It's like he's never seen one before. He's like, they're so small. You couldn't get lost in one. Yes, that's how they build them now. They are tiny and to cram more people in. It's not a strange fact that we all need to know about. I think most of us have seen an apartment before.
I want you to look very carefully. The first entry on the timeline. According to the police, let me walk over there. Excuse me. Brianna did not have her phone. She didn't have her phone, so she had to call to make a call. According to the police, she borrowed her friend's phone, meaning one of the 3 women that was in the apartment. Now look at this very carefully. According to the police, she borrowed her friend's phone and made a call from 12:43, and it lasted 1 minute. At 12:46, 2 minutes later, the police were responding to a 911 call because she was outside on the ground. Now do the math. So you're probably thinking, well, she must have, she hung up her friend's phone and she just jumped. She hung up the phone, she dropped it on the balcony, and she jumped. First question you should have is, where's the phone? What did she do with the phone? I asked the police that 3 different times. 3 times. They sidestepped me every time until this morning. They sidestepped me because they hadn't thought about it, because they rushed to judgment. They finally answered the question this morning. And you know what they said to me this morning? And they said it, and they didn't even realize what they were telling me because they're so sloppy. I made them put it in writing. I have it here. I'll read it to you. Austin Police Department did not find the phone on Miss Aguilera. Miss Aguilera returned the phone to its owner before she was seen going onto the balcony. Now, how is that possible? That is 180 degrees different than what you told us previous. That is absolutely contrary to what you told us previous. Previous, you said the 3 women were asleep. You said they didn't know where she went. But then when I asked the one question over and over and you had to answer it, then all of a sudden we realized if she did in fact use her friend's phone like they claim, if she did in fact use it for 1 minute and was found already 2 minutes later by a passerby and the police were already responding to a 911 call, think about that, what the ramifications of that are.
That's probably the best point he has throughout the entire thing, is that more clarification needs to be about that timeline, about that. It's very small, and it'll end up being the crux of this entire thing. What happened in that 2 minutes? And it really does need to be investigated properly. You can't just give out crappy answers like, oh, she just threw it to her friend and then jumped over a balcony like she was diving into a pool. So I agree. There needs to be a better answer, and that's not it. What he was told is not a good answer. It's not. It doesn't give you any detail. It doesn't confirm or deny anything. There's no cell phone records. Like more detail on that one.
That whoever phone she was using was standing right next to her as she went over the balcony, if she went over the balcony. Now you're saying to yourselves, well, shoot, there's got to be a reasonable explanation. We should talk to the witnesses. We should investigate. We should figure this out. That's what we're saying. Now you're getting it. You sat there, and with all due respect, you all, I watched it. You all sat there and you had this corporal or whatever he is, lead detective. And Mrs. Rodriguez will tell you how he is and her interactions with him in just one moment. But you let him stand at a podium just like this and feed you total baloney. And all you had to do is say, wait a minute, detective, wait a minute. She borrowed somebody's phone. Where is that phone? Maybe she must have went over the railing with it. She had to give somebody. No, according to him, she returned it to its owner before she was seen walking back out to the balcony. Absolutely impossible. Very suspicious.
Need more clarification on what it means to return it to its owner. Does that mean she put it back on the bench inside? Does it mean she actually handed it to her? I know he's implying that's what he thinks, is that she walked in there and literally handed it to the owner, and then the owner watched her walk outside and jump over the balcony. Yeah, need much better clarification on that. Much better about what that means. Joe said, anytime somebody says with all due respect, they're getting ready to disrespect somebody. Yeah, and we'll see. We got a bit more disrespect coming.
We have a problem. And I shouldn't have to ask the detective 3 times the same question, should I? I shouldn't have to do that. But I did it, and I'm going to keep doing it. And another thing, why would you tell these kids, the boyfriend who Stephanie knows, who's been over to her house, who her daughter has been dating, they're in love, why would you, detective, tell him not to speak to Stephanie Rodriguez? Don't talk to her. What kind of foolishness is that? Just absolute insensitive and inhumane in my view. Before I go any further, I'm getting a little incensed here. Let me introduce to you Stephanie Rodriguez. She wants to read to you a statement. I hope you'll give her.
Yeah, you're going to hear from her mom now, like he's saying, and she reads a small paragraph of information. Doesn't say a whole lot, just says how much she loves her daughter and how much she wants a better investigation into her death.
For your full attention.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Rodriguez, and I'm the mother of Brianna Aguilera. Brianna was a driven, disciplined, and caring person. She was beautiful. She was a loving daughter, a protective big sister, and a caring granddaughter, a second mom to her 2 younger brothers. Her baby was her little Yorkie, Ava. All of us were her best friend. She made everyone around her feel loved and supported. I considered her my best friend, not just a mother-daughter relationship. We talked every day, and she would tell me everything. I miss her so much. Her brothers miss her too. Her father and grandmother miss her so much, and so do all her friends. Brianna grew up as an all-star cheerleader, an incredible athlete. She was an honor student and a member of the National Honor Society all throughout school. Christmas was her favorite time of year. She loved decorating, baking, and hiding the elf on the shelf for her little brother. Her brothers already miss her so much. Brianna graduated magna cum laude from high school. She was accepted to many colleges, but chose Texas A&M. She was studying political science and criminal justice. She was not like most young girls. She loved writing more than watching TV. Her favorite class at A&M were her creative writing classes. She dreamed of attending law school in New York and wanted to become a criminal defense lawyer. She was so smart and had such a bright future. She dreamt of a life of where she could make a difference. My daughter was not suicidal. I know my daughter better than anyone. We spoke every day. I spoke to her on the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th. Even the morning of the 28th, she was not suicidal. To the Austin police, I can deal with you being annoyed each time I called or tried to talk to you. I can deal with how arrogantly you talked down to us each time we talked. I can deal with you telling my daughter's friends not to talk to me like I am some sort of criminal. But I cannot deal with you doing a news conference and saying false things about my child without a thorough investigation. I cannot deal with you jumping to conclusions and not performing an actual investigation. I cannot deal with your failure to do your job. Do your job.
I think the first part we can all agree with. It seems Brianna was a very talented young lady, loved by a lot of people, had many friends, and seemed to be having a great career path. She seemed to be going from stride to strides and probably going to end up, if she was alive today, probably as that big shot lawyer, probably standing on a stage like this at some point in her life for whoever she was representing. So I agree. But yeah, it's just sad. The whole thing is. Shasta says, "Do your job and tell me what I want to hear." Yeah, I've seen this before, and it breaks my heart because I don't know what none of us know. I don't know if it's what the APD is saying, what they're saying. Um, But I can tell you, I have sat here and watched these exact same press conferences several times where a parent has adamantly, vehemently denied that their child was, you know, in that way. I've seen it for years, and I don't know whether this one is or isn't, but I can tell you that there's been other parents who have stood on those podiums and said the exact same thing, and it's returned a result later on as exactly what it is. So it's I'm a little jaded in that respect. Lindy says, didn't they investigate and find it deleted? Well, he's saying that he said earlier in this press conference that it's not an unaliving post or whatever, that it's something to do with maybe her creative writing classes, and that's why her mother just said, um, there, like, her favorite thing was writing. She would write instead of watching TV. So they're trying to lay that groundwork that she was a writer, and her big thing was, doing her sort of thing like that. Bon Jovi, that's right. Danny said, "It is what it is, in my opinion." Lindy, yeah, there's definitely some angles from both sides. Definitely the bit about the timeline with the 2 minutes needs to be cleared up, and they need to have that concrete. They need to know every second of what happened, every second. And until they can do that, it's not a complete investigation by any stretch of the imagination. Kim says, I don't think anyone can say 100% is an S word. You can never know what someone else is thinking. I tell you, I've sat and watched these press conferences. They're like, "This is my child. Look how happy they were." It's happened a million times. So I don't know. Yeah, you don't know what other people are thinking, and people who are suffering from mental health, I think it's a good time to bring it up. They often put on a mask to people around them because they don't want them to know how worried they are, how sick they might be. Not saying that's the case with Brianna, just saying it does happen with people with depression or other types of ideology or ideation. They ideology. Yes, when they go to church, they put on a mask. No, but it's known to do that. So it's you can't always take that as a sign that someone is okay. So I don't put any value into them parading these photos of her looking so happy, other than she looks very happy and looks beautiful. But you can't put any stock into that what regarding her mental health or whatever. It's not doable.
The police, as much as I've always been a supporter of the police, with all due respect to them, do not determine cause of death. That's not their job. That job is specifically reserved for the medical examiner's office. There is no medical examiner in the county, then it's the JP in the county. In Austin, it's the job of the medical examiner to determine cause of death, not Detective Robert Marshall. The medical examiner told us that a rape kit was done and the autopsy will be performed. It'll take us 60 to 90 days. So that begs the question, why did Detective Robert Marshall tell us that they had reached their conclusion and that the investigation was complete? Doesn't work that way. How is it that Robert Marshall has determined the cause of this young woman's death? He doesn't have that authority. His job is to question all the witnesses. We've already offered up several. We'll offer up several more for him to do his job. Hopefully a different investigator will be involved. There are many questions about what was done here, about what happened on that night. And it's already going to be incredibly difficult for the Austin Police Department to conduct an objective investigation at this point.
All right, I'm just going to leave it there because basically he doesn't say anything else that we need to listen to. He calls on them to assign a different investigator to the case, and he says if they will not do that, he calls on the Texas Rangers to take on the case and investigate it. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if the APD assigns a different investigator, or if the Texas Rangers pick up the case and investigate it themselves. My question is, say both those things happen. Say the APD put a new investigator and the Texas Rangers also have a look at it. What happens at the end if it comes back with the same conclusion? Will the family still not be happy? If it comes back the other way, then we've got a trial to go get done. But if it comes back with the same conclusion, will it be acceptable? And that's what I don't know. And the family hasn't sort of made it clear in this press conference whether it would be accepted or not. And that's what I would like to know. Danny said the family did a GoFundMe for everyone. Does a GoFundMe? It doesn't matter if you got $1 million in the bank or $5. If someone dies or someone gets ill, they do a press conference. I mean, a GoFundMe and a press conference. Hey Moonshadow, how are you, my friend? I haven't seen you in ages. I hope you're doing well. How did they not go to the apartment she jumped from that very night? I can't get past that. Would you not go to the place she jumped right then? I think they weren't sure where she jumped from, but in the APD's press conference yesterday, they said their first thing was to go and get the CCTV evidence. So they wanted to check the cameras and find what they could find out. So I guess you got to think from the police side, they may not have known where she jumped from, and they were trying to. That's part of the investigation, was they were trying to figure it out. And then I think it wasn't until Brianna was reported missing that they started placing 2 and 2 together, that she must be the same girl that they found, and it snowballed from there. Could be, my friend, could be. Moonshadow said, wouldn't they want to see if anyone else in trouble in that apartment that night? Yeah, possibly. No more 911 calls came through. So I guess if there was more people in trouble, maybe there would have been more emergency calls that came through. But you are right. Who is here? Hold on. Yeah. Wouldn't they want to know if there's someone else in the apartment? I agree with you. I agree. So we'll see. I don't know where or what direction they're going to go in. I'm just going to check whether the APD released a rebuttal or not. Let's see if the APD said anything today. I don't think they did. They did not. So APD must be considering their position right now. I don't see them with a reply at this point in time. What do they say here? Yeah, I don't see anything from them. Oh, here we go. Austin police sent a statement to Fox 7 following the press conference today. They say the Austin PD stands by the information that we provided yesterday during our news conference regarding the tragic death of Brianna Aguilera on Saturday, November 29, 2025. They said we would like to reiterate a couple of key points. The county medical examiner determines the cause and manner of death, and APD has never made a determination in this case. Our role is to conduct an investigation and follow the evidence. The investigation remains open, and at no point has the APD stated otherwise. So they are pushing back on what Tony said in the press conference, where they said they had finalized or closed the investigation. They're saying that it is still open and always has been. They say, we understand emotions are extremely high and that Brianna's passing has brought immense pain to her loved ones. We share in that sorrow. This is still an active and ongoing investigation. The misinformation that has been shared harms innocent people and jeopardizes the integrity of the investigative process. From the beginning, our priority has been and continues to be to conduct a thorough, complete, and respectful investigation. They're saying the medical examiner has not made a determination yet, because the autopsy is not complete, it could take up to 90 days. So there you go. APD did release a follow-up to that press conference. It is a bit of a pissing contest. Yeah. Definitely. But yeah, they're saying that it's not, they have not determined anything. It is interesting though. If they haven't determined anything, why are they labeling her death as anything? And if it is preliminary, why did they not use that word during their press conference yesterday and seem so final about everything? They seemed very like, this is what we found, and this is like the the be and end all of our findings. Why did they just not say it's based on preliminary information and may change in the future? That would have bought them like, you know, a length of runway. Instead, they were very final about what they were talking about yesterday. So, Gayla said, "How can you say it's an S word if you know nothing?" That's what I'm trying to say. If it's only based on the preliminary findings of her sort of autopsy, how can you say that's your final statement? So I agree with them there. Remember the guy from the boy band? What? You're gonna have to be more specific. Joe said it's like when the OSBI PIO, I remember that, yeah, agreed to talk to you about the London Valdez case. Yeah, he was having a tough day that day with you. You really tried to work him through the ringer. Oh, One Direction. Oh, yes. That definitely changed from the first day. They sort of labeled it as, oh, he just, whatever. And then it changed later on. Now there's people being charged over it. So possibly people could be charged in this one later on. It's a possibility. Hey, Penguin, how are you? Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, definitely. That one changed from like what we knew on the day it happened to like a year later or whatever it is now. We definitely know a lot more. And we definitely know that there's been people held accountable. Could happen here too. Could happen here. Never say never. I think that might be a One Direction song. All right. Let me see. I want to just double check. What time are we? We're at 2. We've got another half an hour. So, by the way, I don't want to spoil. Hold on. What is Trish doing tonight? I just want to double check Trish is not doing this. It doesn't seem like they are. Okay. All right. I'm going to steal this story because it doesn't seem like they're going to do it. And I'll tell you that Stacy actually told me about it. So give the credit to her, and she found the update for me. And it is an update to the Rex Human thing. In a way, it's not perfect, but I think you'll find this very interesting. So it's about Peaches. Remember Peaches? How they identified her earlier this year? And we did the whole press conference, and we saw she was buried with military honors. They have arrested a man for her murder. Andrew Dykes has been arrested, and he's been arrested on a murder charge in Nassau County on Wednesday, December 3rd, but he's actually going to be extradited from Florida. So he's in Tampa, Florida, and that's where he lived. He's currently awaiting extradition to New York, but they actually found him. He is Tatiana's father. So the little baby, Peach's baby, the father is the murderer. So he killed the mum, Tanya, and the baby Tatiana. So there you go. There's his photo right there, Andrew Dykes, and he is responsible. Well, innocent until proven guilty, but according to the genetic genealogy, it is him. He is the one that killed her and the baby. Very dangerous man. to be able to murder not only his ex-partner, but also his own child. Own child. Shasta said, I don't watch web sleuths. You don't? Oh, you only watch this channel? I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate that you're so fond of this channel that you only watch here. That's why I double up on, like, Trish might do things and then I'll redo them because we have people who don't watch her, or they only watch here, or we have people who watch both. So I just do it. So I do that for everyone. Hold on, I just want to double check. Yep. So there we go. That is great news. Peaches has finally been solved, and we no longer have to wonder whether she was a victim of Rex Heuermann, because she's not. And I think we got that hint at the press conference earlier this year. Earlier this year at the press conference, they sort of told us who it was. It's Tatiana and her mom Tanya, and then they showed us her being buried with military honors because she is a vet. And then they were like, oh, we're sort of looking outside of the Rex Heuermann investigation. And then someone tried to bring up, well, what about Tatiana's father? And they just shut it down. They shut down any questioning about who Tatiana's father might be and if he had anything to do with the death of the both of them. And now we know 9 months later, that's exactly who they were looking at. They were looking at the father of that child. There you go, Andrew Dykes, right there. And yeah, he will be extradited to New York to face charges over the death of Tanya and Tatiana in Nassau County. So that's great news, really great news. You think about what he did to their bodies, dismembered them. Some of her has never been found. They have never found her skull. They've never found her head. They've never found her car either. That Geo. They've never found that car, and they only found her torso in that Tupperware container, a giant Tupperware container they put her body in. That's the man there that did that. Not only that, but also killed that child and then buried them or dumped them in several places, including in a serial killer's backyard. In a serial killer's backyard. You have to be mightily unlucky to dump your victim in a place where another serial killer has been dumping his victims. So this guy got very unlucky. That's good because it means he has been caught. Yeah. I don't know what that means, but sure, you can be Team Crusher. I have no idea what that means, but yes, you can be team whoever you want to be. He is a bit of a creeper. That is right. Kim says, I put up with my husband for 30 years. You earned a retirement. Enjoy your do they do like for wives that are put up with bad husbands? They get like some sort of final salute at their funeral where they like fire their husband's underwear out of a cannon. They're like, you never have to wash these again, and they just fire them out of a cannon. 21 underwear salute, and they just fire the tidy whities out of a cannon. Is that how they do that? I mean, if not, maybe we should make it a thing. Maybe we should do that for wives that have done that. I'm Team Ping. I'm Team Ping. I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about. That definitely qualifies for major awards. Yeah. I don't know what you guys are up to. I'm so busy. I really am. That anything outside of the channel, the court cases I go to, anything like that, I don't know anything outside of that. I'm 9 to 5, and then further into the night, I'm busy building cases, reading through court documents, writing stuff so for the last 2 weeks I've been writing our show for the Jody Hill trial. So each night when I get off here and I get a few hours, I go through all my documents and all my notes from the trial earlier in the day. I break them down and when we get a verdict, you'll hear all about it. So yeah, I have no idea what you guys are on about. Danny says, I'll go to Hawaii with your husband. Bring your giant dog. Rachel said, I hope they have a good case. Well, it sounds like genetic genealogy played a part. So the miracle science has once again solved a case here. It's really good news. I'm so happy. Peaches seemed like a couple of years ago, it really seemed like they hit a dead end. A couple of years ago, they put a plea out in around the Carolina area. They were looking for someone in Tatiana's family tree. They sort of got to a point in the genetic genealogy. They couldn't go further. They sort of reached a branch of the family and couldn't get any further on it. And they put a call out saying, did you know this man? And it was someone from the 1950s. And they're like, do you know his family? Do you know who he's like, other people in his family tree? Because they were trying to get further down that, family timeline, and they couldn't. And it really felt like that maybe that's as far as we'd get with Peaches. But now it's really great news. Within about 12 months now, we've gone from knowing her as Peaches, knowing her as Tanya, a military veteran. By the way, we should always give her respect. She is a Gulf War veteran. Gulf War. She deserves all the respect in the world for her service. And she got military honors at her funeral. And now we know who killed her. All within about 12 months. That's great. It's more than you could ask for. I really really love that. And it's great to give back her name. The only thing I think I could ask for now in this particular case is, can we get Andrew to talk and tell us where her car is? And I believe if they find the car, they might find the rest of her, because they are missing body parts of her, including her head. So if Andrew might talk for a better plea, maybe we'll find the rest of her and they can be buried with her so she can be whole. And I'd like that. If they could do that, I'd appreciate it. Rachel said, I wonder if they got more info after that presser. I wonder if they did too, because I reckon because that's what they were looking for. They were saying, did anyone know Tanya and Tatiana when they lived in New York? And they really wanted to speak to anyone who knew them. It didn't matter who they were, whether you met them once or met them weekly. They wanted to know about her life in New York. And I wonder if maybe someone did come forward. So I hope so, because that would mean someone gave that final piece to the puzzle to go and get him, which is really good news. Montana says, I like the way you present these cases. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. It's been a tough few months with all the changes and that. It's the changes benefited larger creators, but it really messed up small creators like me. The larger creators probably didn't even notice the changes to the algorithm and the AdSense and all that. But I can tell you, as a small creator, it really, really messed up things for me. So it's been a really tough few months. Montana said his mistakes was putting the child not so far away. DNA found him. Well, I mean, when they find a child and the mum, what's the first thing they're going to look for? Where is the father? Where's the other half of that DNA? So that's what they were trying to track down for a long time. We have him now. Andrew Dykes. I'm so happy. It's not many times in true crime I'm genuinely thrilled, and I really am thrilled that they've been able to do this, because I feel like Tanya deserved better. To have her case, languishing for so long is very, very sad to me. I'm going to take you to ABC7 in New York for an update. If it'll play. Let's see if it plays.
Case on Long Island that dates back nearly 30 years. The dismembered body of a woman known as Peaches was found in Nassau County back in 1997, and her 2-year-old daughter was found 14 years later. So what finally led to a break in her case? Here's Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles.
It looks like they met in the Army.
He was living down in Florida. Andrew Dykes charged in the cold case murder of Peaches and baby Doe, later identified as Tanya Denise Jackson and 2-year-old Tatiana. It's his child.
It's his child, and he was on the birth certificate, Darla. That's how they found his name. He was on the birth certificate. The child was named after it, took his name, Dykes.
Andrew Dykes, now 66 years old, arrested on a fugitive warrant for second-degree murder outside of Tampa Thursday afternoon. Investigators say they tracked him down using familial DNA.
Yesterday, they got an indictment in Nassau County. 3 hours later, he was in handcuffs. So they had the team staged there, ready to go, and they moved in and made the arrest.
Back in April, the cold case murder of Peaches and baby Doe picking up speed when Nassau County police identified their remains after 27 years.
We cannot provide the names to both victims.
But the disturbing mystery started back in June of 1997. The gruesome discovery of a female torso in Hempstead Lake State Park. Then in April 2011, more female remains found in those of baby Doe, those discovered along Ocean Parkway, and initially believed to be part of the Gilgo serial killer case until now.
Very complex, tough case to look at. Geographically, they're all together, but they didn't come there together.
U.S. Army Public Affairs confirming today that Dykes served in the regular Army as a medical sergeant for 21 years, from October 1980 to February 2001, an enlisted service member at the time of his girlfriend and daughter's murder 4 years earlier.
Wow, that's amazing. So he served with her and he was military as well. I didn't know that. That explains a lot. Of course, she may have met someone while she was serving, and you know what they say, tight quarters and all that. So you always meet someone sometimes in that way. And I'm just glad that these two have been able to have the respect given back to them. It's a big deal for me that she is given her name and that she's well known now as her military record and stuff like that. It's part of her story, and now everyone knows, right? We all know about Tanya and her little baby Tatiana. So it's great news, really is. What a great Christmas present for people in true crime and that. Shell Huppen says, I will always support you, Ping. Thank you, my friend. It's very kind. It's very kind. Blaze says, I always wonder why people's feet prints are not used to identify them. Every baby is footprinted here, at least since the 50s, maybe longer. Are they recorded, though? Or do they just take the footprints and give it to, like, the mom? Is there a way, like a database, that you could actually search through it? That's very interesting. Because if that's true, why didn't they do that years ago? Oh, wait. I think Tatiana was found pretty quickly. They found her when they found the Tupperware with her torso in it, and it wasn't that long after she was killed, they think. But they didn't find Tatiana, the baby, until much later. They didn't find her I think it was like years later. They found her in the sand on Long Island. So it was much later, and possibly Tatiana was very degraded, very decomposed. There's maybe only bones left at the time. So that's maybe why they couldn't use baby footprints for Tatiana. That could be why. Because yeah, they found the mom much sooner than they found the baby. Let's see. SP Mama said, stupid YouTube, they really scared up all the channels I watch. Some of them are no longer able to continue. Yeah, they really messed with the sort of algorithm of how people see the channel, but they just screwed up the payment platforms for some of the small creators. So we went from making like a decent income to below minimum wage for each video. I'm not talking about like the time that I spend researching that outside of it. Just the live show, it ended up being going below minimum wage. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's very kind. Yeah, it's very kind, like Gayla says. And it's not the donators' fault. It's not the members' fault. It's just a change with YouTube. It's nothing we can do about it. Joe said, I need you here to say database. Was there an R in there? There's no R in database. There's no R in that. I know you guys like to say database, like data, but we say data. Data. It's very Australian. We like to add extra letters to things. But yeah, I know you Americans are fond of your database. Blaze says, I don't know about footprints being in a in a database. I know the hospital keeps a copy. Military keeps fingerprints and all medical data. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know the specifics behind Tanya Tanya. I don't know why they couldn't track anything back to her military record because she would have had medical and stuff like that while she's in the military. But Tatiana definitely makes sense because she was found much later. I know that. Let's see. I know it would be interesting to find out whether they were able to do anything with the ID, with any anything like that, any hospital records, or was it purely genetic genealogy? So maybe we'll find out when he goes to trial. We'll find out more about what they use to track it down. Yeah, that's really. I'll have to look into that. The footprints. I wonder if they've ever been used to solve a murder before. Actually, let's have a look because I didn't know they did that. Let's see. I see they use DNA. I don't see. Oh, there is a Okay. It says here, footprint recognition has long been studied in forensic applications for solving crime cases. Okay. I just newborn screening to search. I can't find one that actually got solved. Like say like a baby, the footprint solved a case or something like that. I'll have to research it. Yeah. I can't find one, but it would be interesting to know. Would be interesting to know. Yeah, so Joe, do you know if they go to a some sort of federal government database or something like that where you could search it for like a criminal case if you needed to? So you could submit an outside sample and then have it matched to a database of all newborn babies born in the USA. I might have to do some digging on that one. I don't know. It's not something I've ever heard about in criminal cases or anything like that. You have the dogs. Let's see. Yeah, I will keep an eye out for you. All right, we've got to sort of start wrapping up for now because Trisha's going to be on in about 10 minutes. So a lot of people are going to head over there. I don't know if we're going to be back for a late show. Do you want a late show tonight? Should we come back and talk more about Tatiana and things like that? I have a couple of other updates for other cases that we've been following. And yeah, someone said before that they're very excited to see what happens with the Jody Hill trial. As soon as we get a verdict, I will start telling you everything I know about Jody Hill. And I really think you're all going to be amazed. I personally have never followed a trial that's had these type of details in it. And I think you're going to be very interested to hear it as soon as we get a verdict. So Joe said, I really doubt they are kept in a database. It seems like a memorabilia type thing. That's why I was wondering if it's just for like the parents, like they ink the baby and they put it on the birth certificate and they sort of give it to mom and dad and they're like, hey, look, it's a baby, like that type of thing. Lynn says yes, a late show. Okay, Lynn, but as long as you're not in hospital this time. Lynn was in hospital one time and she was listening to us while she was getting care. Very kind lady, very kind. Gail said, if she's saving monkeys or delivering babies, it will be a bit longer. You know what Trisha's like. I heard a rumor. Do you guys want to hear a rumor that I heard about Trish, about Patricia Griffith? I got a rumor to tell you. In 1974, there was a break-in at the Dallas Fort Worth Zoo. 4 baby monkeys and a grown gorilla were taken. It was an inside job, they think, possibly a heist. And they've never solved it. And you know who was in Dallas Fort Worth in 1972? It was Trish, a very young Trish. And then she ran away to Salt Lake City in Utah and never stepped foot back in Texas until 5 years ago. You put 2 and 2 together. I mean, I think, you know, she might be hiding some monkeys and a grown gorilla in her home. I mean, you've heard the noises. You've seen the 24-hour show in July. You've heard those noises when she falls asleep. It does not sound like a human is there. It sounds like possibly there may be some monkeys and gorillas in her home. I mean, you have to go with the evidence, people. You have to go with the evidence. They're all up at the cabin. I think she may be hiding them right under their noses in Texas. You've seen them in the background. See, now I've told everyone about the 1972 Great Ape heist in Dallas Fort Worth. See, I've given out all her secrets now. She's gonna be so mad, so mad. All right, let me wind up the show. You guys got to get over to Trish. Let me have a look over here. It's apparently going to rain today all day. Jeez, rainy day in Melbourne. All right, I'll be back probably in 2 hours. Probably in 2 hours time for the late show. All right, I love you all. Have a great night out there. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. And yeah, this Christmas, if you want to support any one of your content creators, think about supporting the people that are small content creators. The ones that have like 50,000, 100,000, 250,000, they make so much on ad revenue. They don't need your super chats. Support the small content creators who have been working year in and year out to bring you content that you love. All right. Good night, everyone. Bye.